Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel, where we break down the biggest political stories shaping South Africa today. And trust me, this one is as heavy as it is historic. It's about justice, memory, and the long shadow of apartheid, and it has just handed President Cyril Ramaphosa's government a serious courtroom defeat. This week, the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria delivered a ruling that could change how South Africa confronts its painful past. The court ruled against the government's attempt to delay a damages lawsuit filed by 22 families whose loved ones were killed or disappeared during the apartheid years. These are families that have spent decades waiting for truth, justice, and accountability, and now, finally, they've been given the green light to have their day in court. Let's unpack what actually happened. These families are seeking about 167 million in constitutional damages from the state. Their claim isn't just about money. It's about something much deeper, the failure of the democratic government, not just the apartheid regime, to properly investigate the deaths and disappearances of their relatives. They argue that the democratic state inherited not only the institutions of apartheid but also the moral responsibility to uncover the truth and hold people accountable. Now, imagine waiting 30, even 40 years, for justice, only to be told once again, please wait, we are still investigating. That's exactly what the government tried to argue. Their lawyers asked the court to pause the damages case until a commission of inquiry could finish looking into allegations of political interference in earlier investigations. In other words, the state was saying, we can't deal with this case yet, we need another commission to tell us why we didn't deal with it before. You can already hear the irony, right? The court wasn't buying it. In a strong judgment, the Gauteng High Court said enough is enough. The judges made it clear that these families have waited too long, and justice delayed is justice denied. The court ruled that the case must proceed without any further delays, rejecting the government's argument that an inquiry should come first. For the families, this decision was more than a legal victory, it was a moment of emotional relief after years of frustration. Many of them had participated in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission process in the 1990s, believing that it would lead to real justice. But while some truth came out, justice largely did not. The people who ordered or carried out many of these killings were never prosecuted. Files went missing, cases went cold, and promises faded with time. Some of the families say they feel betrayed, not just by the old apartheid government, but by the democratic government that replaced it. They believed the new South Africa would deliver accountability, but decades later, they're still searching for answers. And now, this case is putting that uncomfortable reality back in the national spotlight. For President Ramaphosa's administration, this ruling is a major setback. It means that the state will now have to defend itself in a damages case that could expose decades of neglect, political interference, and bureaucratic inaction. Legal experts say the case could set a powerful precedent for other families with similar claims, and there are many. And here's where it gets interesting. The government's position has always been that it supports truth and reconciliation, but not necessarily financial compensation for every family affected by apartheid-era crimes. Officials argue that reparations should come through broader national programs, not individual lawsuits. But for these families, that argument doesn't hold water anymore. They say the state had 30 years to act, and did nothing. One lawyer representing the families said this case isn't about revenge or enrichment. It's about dignity. About telling the government, you failed us when it mattered most. And when you think about it, that's a message that echoes far beyond this courtroom. It also raises big questions about how South Africa continues to deal with its past. For years, the country has wrestled with how to balance reconciliation and justice. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission offered amnesty in exchange for full disclosure, but many perpetrators never came forward, and many victims never received closure. Today, the grandchildren of those victims are still asking why no one was punished for those crimes. The irony is that the government's attempts to delay this case might have done the opposite of what it intended. Instead of bearing the issue quietly, the legal defeat has reignited public discussion about apartheid-era accountability and whether South Africa has ever truly faced its own history. In the court of public opinion, Ramaphosa's government now looks like it's protecting itself from embarrassment rather than supporting justice. And politically, that perception can be damaging. It fuels the growing criticism that the ANC-led government has become too defensive and disconnected from moral leadership, especially when dealing with the wounds of the past. Legal analysts are calling the judgment a strong reminder of judicial independence in South Africa. It shows that the courts are still willing to challenge the executive branch when fairness and justice demand it. In a time when trust in public institutions is shaky, that message carries weight. But let's not pretend this story is over. Now that the case will proceed, the state faces the uncomfortable task of defending why so many apartheid-era investigations were abandoned or ignored. Documents could be subpoenaed, officials could be called to testify, and uncomfortable truths could come out, truths that may reveal how the democratic government quietly let many perpetrators slip away without consequence. And if the families succeed in their claim, the financial implications could be serious too. A R167 million payout may not break the treasury, but it could open the door for more lawsuits, possibly hundreds of them, each demanding accountability and compensation for apartheid crimes that were never prosecuted. Some observers say this could finally force the government to take apartheid-era justice seriously again. Others worry it might drain public resources and lead to years of legal wrangling. But either way, one thing is certain, this ruling has shaken the legal and political establishment. It's also a reminder that time does not erase injustice. South Africa's struggle for truth and justice didn't end in 1994, it's still unfolding in courtrooms and communities across the country. And for those 22 families, this ruling is a small but powerful vindication, proof that even after decades of silence, the door to justice can still open. So, what do you think? Should the government pay damages to families of apartheid victims? Or should South Africa focus on truth and reconciliation without financial compensation? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you found this story important, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deep political analysis, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. South Africa's past keeps coming back to test its present, and as always, we'll be here to unpack every detail for you. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed, stay curious, and stay engaged. See you next time.